Right guys, so today we're just doing a quick trace presentation. The trace that I use for Steenbras. I usually switch it up sometimes with a demon circle, but most times I usually fish with 2-3 rock points or 4 rock points. Yeah, that's just my preferred setup. But today we're gonna do a demon circle presentation. So basically all you need is either 2 or 3, a demon circle, a float depending on obviously the water condition. I usually use 2 of these beads, the green beads, and then 3 swivels. I know someone is gonna say you're wasting swivels and you might as well use a 3-way, whatever, but like I said, this is the way that I prefer doing it. And then we have a 0.55 line which we'll be using for the limit slide, and then we have 0.5 flouro. I usually fish 0.5 flouro for brass, and then obviously a 5-ounce sinker with, I think this is 0.5 just normal mono leader on that I knotted just in case it sticks fast, and then you can pull him loose. Because of the kinks in the line, there's weak point, so it should break easier. It should break before your knots give in. So yeah, here we go. So the next thing you do is you take some of the flouro. I usually take about 30 centimeters, 30-40 centimeters of flouro. I just snip them off. I love using this triple fish flouro. I know there are other fluoros available, but this is basically my go-to. So yeah, then what I do is we basically just take the demon circle and we do a figure of 8. I don't snarl it because it's too small to snarl. So yeah, basically we do that, we pull it tight, and then obviously we have to wet it before we cinch it down. So there we go, we pull him down, pull him fast, and then we can trim the tag in off. I usually try to trim it as close as possible because of the worm. Sometimes it interferes with you pulling the worm through. So yeah, and then what I do usually is I just put the float on. I let him slide. I don't tie it down or anything, and then I use one of my swivels and I repeat the same knot. So yeah, you can measure and then cinch him down, and you do the figure of 8 again. So we figure of 8 him, and then I think it's a figure of 8 knot, I don't know, and then we wet him and we cinch him down. Yeah, there we go. And we trim the tag end off. With those ones I can leave a bit longer because they won't really interfere with anything. So that's the first step. So the next step would be take your 0.55 line. You can also cut about 40 centimeter, 30-20 depending on how much you want your slide to slide. I usually don't like a too long slide, so I usually do it, I'll cut it maybe 30 and then adjust it as I feel. So basically what you do is you take one of the swivels, same thing, you know, figure of 8 it and then cinch it down. Yeah, so cinch him down, wet him, and then pull it tight. And then the next thing you do is you put a bead in, one of these beads, the green beads in, and it will sit like that, right? Then you take another swivel, you insert it in, and then you take another bead and you slide it in, and then you tie your hook end to the end of this line. Obviously measure how much you want for the limit slide. So basically that's how we do it. Sorry, the sun is away now. Just adjust it like that. So obviously we have this, we wet him and you cinch him down, right? Obviously trim your tag ends off. So the important part is that we have the hook end, here's the hook end, and then this swivel should be attached to the line of the swivel with one swivel running between the two lines with beads on either end. This end would be your sinker end and this would be your main line. It's important, or the way I do it is my main line is directly attached to my hook line, whereas my sinker is the one that slides. So basically what happens is when you cast in, right, let's just keep the hook in there. When you cast in, your sinker will be in the sand, right, so your main line will be tight, and then basically what happens is when a fish picks you up, it will pull directly on your main line and it will work on your drag, and it will pull until the swivel hits the bead and that swivel which is attached to your main line. And basically what will happen is then it will only feel the resistance of the sinker, and then it will pull the sinker loose. So you have some good travel between the one sinker, between the one swivel and the other swivel, which allows for the sliding motion without the resistance of the sinker. So yeah. So as you can see, always ensure that your sinker line is a bit longer than your hook line. We have the double swivel there with a bead between, and then this going towards your main line. So like I said, if your sinker is dug into the beach sand, basically what happens is the fish, the sinker and because the hook line is attached to the hook line swivel is attached to a line which is attached to your swivel which is next to your main line, it will pull, right, that's the hook, and then basically what will happen is it will pull the hook. If I can just keep it on the side, it will pull the hook, the fish will pull the hook to a point where the main line swivel will start pulling onto the sinker swivel, and then what will happen is this will go across and eventually pull the hook loose. So yeah, that's basically the setup that I use for Steenbras. I will maybe attach a drawing to the video as to how I do it, but I will also attach some pictures of the catches we had on this rig. Personally, I don't only use it for Steenbras. I use it for cob, for every type of fish I target. I usually use the limited slides.